This is Wildcat Country.
Larson tipped it. Love has it. Lewis slams it, and Arizona wins it.
The inside scoop on the Arizona Wildcats.
It's Gunnar Maldonado. He's got blockers. Touchdown, Arizona.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to bear down.
Welcome to another edition of Wildcat Country presented by Harrah's Auction Casino. Eric Cohn and Shane Dale. And let me tell you, this is an unbelievable show. We're coming off an unexpected win over Yukon, recording this on Wednesday night. An unexpected win over Cincinnati on Saturday, and then a somewhat expected win over UCLA on Friday. And normally we'd get into buy or sell and it'd be all great, but this is a special occasion. So we bring in the voice of Arizona basketball, one of the voices of Arizona basketball for the last 26 years, Ryan Hansen, the analyst on Radio with Brian Jeffries, joins us here right off the top of the show. All right, Ryan, we usually do buy or sell here. So I'm going to give you a buy or sell to start the show. Buy or sell. Arizona should be ranked number one next Monday when the polls come out.
Oh, I'm with Shane. I don't love the number one ranking. I already know what Shane's thinking, right? It's November 19th. Does it really matter? But to play along, if Arizona's not ranked number one, the pollsters didn't watch tonight's game. They didn't watch Arizona just really hand it to Yukon. And we'll get into all the details. There's a caveat. There's a little asterisk there without their starting center who would have changed a number of things. I'm confident in Terrace Reed, but I will buy the Arizona Wildcats will wake up next Monday morning as the number one team in the nation because their resume, there is nothing that compares to Arizona's resume 3 weeks into the season.
No, I'm with you, Ryan. And look, you can debate who the best team in basketball is, but I think you can debate the resume. And if it should, especially early in the season, I think it should go more off of like, what have you done? And no one's done more than Arizona has. So just a quick recap of this game against Yukon. Like you mentioned, Terrace Reed, their 2010 big man didn't play. So obviously that was a big deal. But, Arizona, they have a 13-point lead in the second half. They let it go, but they still find a way to win. Just like a few days earlier, they came back and they won late as well. What does it say about this team that, especially as young as they are, that they're able to win games like this, especially when all the momentum is going the other way in a hostile environment?
Well, you said young, but let's get real. Who carried Arizona down the stretch again? It's Jaden Bradley.
Absolutely.
So as much as you see, Koa Pete was a beast tonight. Again, back in form, after and not really a great performance against UCLA. Braden Burries had his challenges. Aristo didn't get a lot to you in production in the stat book, but gave you good minutes. I didn't think he hurt Arizona, which is probably where he's at. And then when you look at what Kchenkov did, gave you good stuff. But when it was winning time, who was making truly the winning plays? Pete had his fair share in there, but it was Jaden Bradley. It was Tobe Awaka at the free throw line. It was defensively. And let's take the bad tag off the guy. Career night for Mo Crevis on the glass. 14 rebounds, a career high. He executed the game plan very well, which we can talk about, but I really do think it was the experienced guys that led in the poise category, and you throw in Koa Pete, just that guy's a man amongst boys. It said a huge amount to me of their poise and their resilience. You go in and you don't get punked early. You take their best swing, and then you come back and you close it out. That to me was almost more fun in some ways that they were pressured at the end and had to execute.
My favorite thing about this team at the moment, Ryan, is that I still think they have a lot of room to improve. I think there's a lot. Braden Burries, we haven't seen the best of what I think he has to offer yet. And foul trouble has a lot to do with that against Florida and Yukon in particular. Kchenkov is still getting used to the American game. Dwayne Aristote, I think, is going to get better. He hadn't played in over a year. Krivos missed last year. Do you think, like me, that I'm excited that this team is still figuring it out while they reach their full potential?
Yeah, typically at this time of the year when Arizona's winning Maui Invitationals and yesteryear of the preseason NITs, and then this start, You could argue Arizona might be the best team in November in modern era of basketball, and Lute Olson was a huge start of that, and Tommy's had his fair share saved last year of November great wins. But I agree with you. I watched this game. You made two threes. You didn't get much out of Delhi other than just really solid play. I don't want to say he didn't play great, but only 6 points out of him. He didn't go for the 20 plus like he did against UCLA.
No, would
There's
you wouldn't expect him to every night either, though, would you?
No, that's not who he is, right? But he is really settling into his role. And I really feel like this team still has a significant growth curve because of the guys you mentioned. Those freshmen, not named Koa Pete, are going to get better. You saw Braden Burries in the second half. That's more of what you kind of expect on a couple of possessions where he got into the lane, made some shots, looked a little tougher. He's really so aggressive to start games that he gets himself into foul trouble. That's a freshman mistake. So if he could just eliminate or mitigate those issues and get into the rhythm a little bit better, which I think he will in time. I don't want to use phrases like the sky's the limit, but if you get any more out of Burries and these other guys continue to produce the way they're doing, that's why we, I believe, agree in this one strongly about the improvement opportunity.
Yeah, one thing, Ryan, that stands out to me in looking at the box score tonight, Arizona 43 rebounds, Yukon 23.
Did you have that on your bingo card?
I did not have that. Now listen, you guys said it earlier. Missing their starting center, who was averaging 9+ rebounds a game, is a factor. But to nearly double up Yukon in their own place, and I believe the stat, and our buddy Blair Willis just put this out on X, courtesy of Ken Palm, that Arizona had 63 possessions tonight. It was their lowest ever in a win under Tommy Lloyd, which is something. The fact that Arizona can now win these low-scoring games, Ryan, this is the type of game that you'll see against the Houstons as we go forward. How much confidence does this give you as we go forward with this beast of a schedule in 25-26?
Let's even just take Tommy's 5-year coaching arc here. And there were many games, many seasons where if Arizona didn't get to 90, you really did have a question. And it had to play up tempo. That's how it got offense. I'm really impressed with Arizona's half-court offensive execution. And some of that is they got some ballers. They've got a closer in Jaden Bradley. Koa Pete can get his when the offense isn't really, it's run for him, but get him at the high post, he can make his moves. Get him in the low block, he can make moves. Let him bring the ball down the floor, he's going to get his shot. So having guys that can create their own shots is really a factor in these types of slow down half-court games. You run good stuff in Yukon, but they got shot makers. They've had shot makers with Hurley at the helm as well. That gives me more confidence for the tough battles that are ahead in the Big 12, and there is a lot of them coming, as you mentioned, Eric. More importantly, postseason play. We all know what happens in the NCAA tournament. It slows down. You never play as fast of tempo in the tournament as you can or do in the regular season, and that's been somewhat of an Achilles heel for Arizona if they can't get out on the break. How about that specialty stat? Arizona wins fast break points 1-0. Did you have that on your bingo card?
No. Nope.
1 and held Yukon to none. And so that is the quintessential point that you made, Eric, was this game typically not conducive for an Arizona team to go win on the road in this style of play. That was a plus as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly stunning. Now, I don't mean to go all Shane Dale here with this question, but I think it's a fair question. Last season, Arizona was had 5 losses in the non-conference, and then they peaked during conference season. Are we concerned that they may be peaking a little early with these 3 wins, or is this a non-factor through 5 games of the year?
I mean, if you're an Arizona Wildcat fan for the last 3 decades, yes, you are sitting here going, oh, could we save some, keep some in the gas tank for March and maybe even into April? If you're Tommy Lloyd right now, what would he tell you in this press conference? I'm not worried about March. I'm a paycheck to paycheck, long neck to long neck guy. I worry about what's in front of me. And now he's savoring the win tonight, but he's worried about Denver. And I know the University of Denver is not going to be on anybody's radar, but he wants to see how Arizona responds now. All the press that's coming their way, potentially playing Monday night as the number one team in the nation. How do you handle that? Because it changes things. And by the way, teams are going to scout Arizona. They're going to start figuring out, okay, they're only 2 for 10 from the 3-point line. What are we going to do? Maybe we need to shut down the paint, sag it in, and really let Arizona win the game from the 3-point line. And that is something we'll talk about as a potential concern long term. Can this team be good enough from the 3-point line to win games when maybe the paint is clogged up? That will come. I really don't have a worry about peaking early. I think that's a lot of discussion for us media heads to get into. Tommy Lloyd doesn't worry about anything other than the flight home probably right now.
And like you alluded to, Ryan, I think maybe the difference between this team and some others is that, that this team still has such a high ceiling because they have some more younger guys. This is the youngest team Tommy Lloyd's had during his time at Arizona. So I think there's still a lot of room for improvement. You mentioned the 3-point shot, Ryan, and I'm not sure what the stats are after this game because they went 2 for 10 from 3. But I saw one of those spread those I forget what they're called. I'll call it a graphic for now because I can't think of the term, where it shows the team's percentage of 3-point shots versus 2-point shots and their 3-point percentage. And Arizona has one of the lowest tendencies to shoot threes. Like, they don't shoot that many. They're one of the lowest in the country, but they have one of the best percentages. That's one of the things I like about this team is they don't depend on a 3-point shot. They went 2 of 10 at Yukon and still won. They're a very good 2-point shooting team. What do you think about that?
If you're a running team in football and you can pound it down the throat of the defense, why throw it? Is the way I see it. Arizona's strength right now and their strength in the game against Yukon without Terrace Reed, you saw an advantage. They knew they could get to the rim with their guards without a lot of shot blocking presence. They felt like Koa Pete had an advantage in the low block, especially when Caravan was guarding him. That was a mismatch that I think Arizona is going to be favored in a lot of games at that position. So keep going, pound it inside, beat him at the free throw line, beat him in the paint, beat him up on the glass. Why would you need to shoot threes? And you're right. If you look at the KenPom statistic of 3-point attempts per field goal attempts, Arizona's 360th in the country in regards to the threes that it takes versus the number of total attempts from the field. 360.
How many teams are there? 370?
370-ish.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're whatever that quintile or whatever the percent factor that they're in. But then you mentioned it, they're 75th in the nation in 3-point percentage. I'll take top 75 in percentage if you continue to do what you do. But I think we all know they're going to have to be able to make some threes to win a lot of games this year. They are not going to be able to completely rely on outscoring their opponent by 18 in the paint night in and night out. But I do believe a lot of it has to do with how they're being defended. I think Yukon misplayed today. I think they felt like they could beat Arizona straight up in the post. Very rarely did we see a double team. It's coming. Teams are going to have to double Arizona's 3 big men in the post, or Arizona will continue to do what it does. Yeah. Florida and Yukon, Arizona has put up 92 points in the paint. 92. In those 2 games against what we would say is pretty good front lines minus Terrace Reed. Yeah. So their teams are going to have to change their approach. So the chess match begins. Maybe that will open up more good looks for Arizona from the 3-point line versus contested shots. And they maybe be able to grow their percentage even more.
All right, I got 2 more for you and then I'll let Eric close. We've talked about Jaden Bradley already, but just I can't remember seeing this big a leap between a junior and senior year for any Arizona player in recent memory. I mean, just not only in terms of his scoring, but just how clutch he is. I mean, that I just found, like, in the final minute when he scores that, he gets the layup to put Arizona up 4, or was it 3, up 3?
Go up 3, yeah.
Up 3. It's like, okay, he's in no man's land, but you know what? I bet he's going to find a way because he's done it already several times, and he did. It's just, have you, well, I guess 2-part question. What do you think is the reason behind his maturation from his junior to senior year? And is there an Arizona player that comes to mind who made that big a leap from junior to senior year for you?
Yeah, the arc that he's on right now in regards to improvement, I would say, is his confidence. You saw this level of a player coming off the bench a couple of years ago following in for Kylan Boswell in a couple of settings. The Clemson game comes to mind where Jaden could get what he needed at will to a certain degree. The Dayton game and the NCAA tournament, he was outstanding. You saw moments of it last year. But his ability, it's something that John Wooden used to talk about. It's not about being the quickest person out there. That obviously quickness kills. But John Wooden used to always talk about change of pace. And it's not about beating somebody to the spot. It's about lulling them to sleep with a slow dribble and then blasting by them and then having the ability to put the brakes on. Jaden is one of the best I've ever seen with the ability to change pace on a straight line drive, either to get him to the rim and then slow down. His body control when he does put on the brakes is pretty incredible. And dare I say that the improvement from his junior to senior year and the clutch end of game ability to get a bucket for Arizona, dare I say it's Jason Terry. Dare I go there that with the ball in his hands right now, who was the last guy, maybe Salim Stoudemire, that you felt really good about Arizona's chances to get points? And what I love more about Jaden Bradley than last year with Caleb Love, and that's not a big stretch, Jaden's not settling for threes. Yeah. He'll take a three if he needs to, but he's going to get to the lane. He's going to take his 15-foot jumper. He's going to get the lay-in today. He's going to get fouled. He's going to finish. That is what you want at end of game situations. I don't want to put the Jason Terry tag too early because of the National Player of the Year, what JT was able to do sustained over 30 plus games. We're only 5 games in. But what I've seen from Jaden Bradley is everything Tommy Lloyd said. It was an absolute crock that this guy was not on anybody's list as a top point guard. He's not on the Wooden list. He's not listed as a preseason all Big 12. At this stage, if people aren't paying attention to what Jaden Bradley's doing, they're absolutely just not watching any college basketball, because Jaden might be he's the best closer we have seen in a number of years. And that's pretty cool for him and I just love his personality and his approach to this game.
And I hope he doesn't get added to any of those lists, because I want that chip on his shoulder the whole season if that's what it takes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Last question for you, Ryan. This has been awesome. We appreciate your time very much. Kchenkov, we've talked about him a few times as possibly the wild card for Arizona, the guy who was brought in essentially to replace Carter Bryant. We saw a flash of how good he can be against Florida, saw a little bit of that against UConn as well. I think he's going to go off at some point for a 20-point game this season. I don't think he's going to be their leading scorer or anything most of the season, but I think he's another guy who's going to improve as he gets acclimated to the college game and come up pretty clutch for Arizona more than once this season. What do you think?
Surprising that and only because he didn't get the press that Burries and Pete got about his ability to impact the college basketball game as quickly as he has. But when you dig in deeper and look at his professional career in Germany and realize he's been playing against grown men since he was 12 years old, it's no surprise he plays like a grown man at this point. He's strong. He is got a high basketball IQ. You can see that. He also has an uncanny ability to finish in the paint. He's got great size at 6'8", a versatile defender for Arizona. I thought he did a pretty good job. Look at Caravan's stat line tonight. Mm-hmm. Now, that was a multi-dimensional defensive effort. Caravan had 8 points. This guy who is going to be the all-time winningest player in Yukon basketball history. He's averaging 18 a game. He's got 2 national titles, and that guy couldn't get loose. That was a team effort, but I think Kchenkov was a significant part of Arizona's defense on the perimeter. And he is one of probably the main reasons why I think Arizona has a great opportunity and ability to improve on the season, because I think what you saw tonight is more of what we're going to get night in and night out. 8 points, couple of boards, winning plays in big moments. I'm pretty high on Kchenkov because of what we've already seen this season.
I think, and I said this to a friend as I was watching the game tonight, I said in 2 years, if not 3, Kchenkov will be all Big 12 if he stays. Would you agree with that?
I would. When Tommy told us, me and Brian before the season, that he's a better Pelle Larsson at this stage of his career, maybe not as explosive as Pelle ultimately, but he really thought Pella's freshman year at Utah versus Kchenkov's freshman year at Arizona, that Kchenkov is a step ahead. He's got to make the strides. But I didn't believe it. I actually thought when I first saw Kchenkov, I used the phrase he's heavy-legged. He's got stumps down there, but yet it doesn't inhibit his athleticism. He's got enough athleticism to compete at this elite level, and really like his opportunity to grow. I'm very, very excited.
I want to play a little game, and Shane, I want you to participate in this one as well. Ryan's been calling games for 26 years of Arizona basketball. Each of you rank in no order your 3 favorite players in Arizona basketball during that time. They don't have to be the best players. The 3 guys that you found yourself rooting for, and I'll start with mine if you want, if it makes sense.
How far back? So I need a starting point. How far back?
So your first year was when?
Well, my first year as a student manager with the team was 93. But if you go way back, I've been a season ticket holder since I was 2. But let's not start in 1976.
How about calling games?
Calling games. Okay, so that would be the 97-98 season. So the defending national championship team from then till now. Okay, you get us started, Eric.
All right, mine are going to be a little bit more recent than that. Salim Stoudemire is my number 1. It was my year in school, the best shooter, I think, in Arizona history. I would put TJ McConnell just for the way that he played and the love of his, you just found yourself rooting for him. And the last one will be surprising, but I'd put Dalen Terry up there. I loved his passion when I got to see him. And Ryan, you obviously were at that game a couple years ago. I think it was 2021 when they played ASU in Tempe. It was a rescheduled game. And watching him taunt the ASU players and fans, I loved it. I'm going, man, this guy, he's one of my favorites. So those are my 3 during that time. Shane, do you want to go next?
It's tough because I originally don't have an order, but the first guy that came to mind for me is Kyle Fogg. Okay. He just, he was never like the most talented guy on the court, but he'd always work his butt off. Great bounce pass too. So he's one of my favorites. And as I'm thinking about it, I really like Nick Wise as well because he played for 4 different coaches in as many years, and he played his butt off. And the finish he had, it was at well, actually going back to Kyle Fogg. Remember the USC game in Sean Miller's first year? Kyle Fogg hits the 3 free throws in the final second to send it to overtime, and then Nick Wise finishes it off on senior day. So that was very cool. So I'll mention those 2 guys. I'm sure. And the other one, I mean, it kind of sounds cliche, but TJ McConnell. I mean, how could you not love that guy? I still remember. I was at a game a few years back, and TJ McConnell, Rondé Hollis Jefferson, and Stanley Johnson were all in the crowd watching. They had because it was past their time there. And one time out, they showed Rondé and Stanley in the crowd, and they got a very nice ovation from the fans. The next time out, they showed TJ McConnell, and the crowd just lost its mind. They just loved that guy in the hustle and everything he gave to the university.
All right, Ryan, you're 3. I know it's tough for you, but let's see what you got. Yeah,
it's tough, and like you said, we haven't done a top 3 of guys that you just rooted for, who you fell in love with. We always go to who's the best point guard in that run, who's the best player. So I like this question because it's slightly different. 2 of the guys are from the same era, and it goes way back, partly because I was the director of basketball operations during this time, so I knew these guys from when we recruited them. But I'll start with Channing Frye. To watch what that kid did, seeing him at the Arizona team camp his senior year for St. Mary's, and I scratched my head and said, this guy at Arizona? I didn't see it. And that's where the genius of Lute Olson saw what Channing Frye could become. And then you couple that with the human being that young man is. And then he lost both parents very young, but he's a world champion. He's now a wine sommelier, but that guy is someone who I would want to go sit down and have dinner with. That's kind of where I go with some of this. Great player, gave you great moments, but then who would you want to hang out with after the game and chat with?
Can I add real quick? Can I add real quick to that, Ryan? I remember for the daily, when I was with the Daily Wildcat, I covered the U of A ASU game in 2004 in Tempe when Luke called scoreboard on the Sun Devil fans that were giving him trouble. And Channing Frye played in that game, and he went toe-to-toe with Ike Diagu, who was by far ASU's best player on the team. And I talked to him after the game. It's because the UA fans were chanting a bunch of stuff, and he was saying, "Man, leave it to our fans." A lot of people say we got, all our fans are older people, but they travel well and they're loud and all that. And I had a chance to interview him once a few years later when he was with the Suns. So love Channing. Channing Frye almost made the cut for me as well for my list.
Yep. Same era, but now on staff. So he's given back to Jason Gardner. When he left the U of A after his 4 years, you know the stat, second most minutes played in the history of college basketball behind Danny Manning at that time. Now that's pre-COVID. That record's been shattered, but I don't go with minutes played now because COVID destroyed everything with 6 years of eligibility and stuff. But Jason Gardner, an Iron Man, what he did for us in his 4 years was incredible. Fell in love with him as a human being too. Love that he's back on staff and continuing to contribute to Arizona basketball. So I love myself some Jason Gardner. And then my last guy may be completely surprised to you, but Dusan Ristic was an absolute gem of a person. He loved, right? Tucson. He loved Tucson. And anytime you have an international player be able to embrace a community the way he did, he loved his time at Arizona. He's still in touch with a number of the staff members. There's a couple of our guys that actually have visited him in Belgrade from the team. Matt Enzer, our former SID, goes out and visits him. So I think those three guys, right? A part of great winning, maybe didn't get the All-American status, but those are guys I would want to go to dinner with after the game.
You know, if you're listening to the show, which obviously you are, make sure, put in the comments on YouTube, DM us on X, or put it in, respond to the tweet. Let us know, who are your three favorite Arizona players since the 97-98 season? We'll see how your lists compare to Shane's and Ryan's and mine. All right, Ryan, last one for you. I'm going to steal this question from what we talked about on Saturday, Shane. We had Victor Yates, we had Barrett Baker on the show. Ryan, as we know, is a big Arizona sports fan and Arizona football fan. Wildcats are 7-3. So I'm going to put you on the spot with this one. Which is the more likely scenario in your opinion? Arizona to win out in football, beating Baylor, ASU in their bowl game, likely the Sun Bowl as it stands right now, or Arizona basketball making the Final Four? Which seems more likely?
Oh my goodness, that's a tough one. You know, it's so early for Arizona basketball. Like, there's so many things that can happen for good or for bad, right? Arizona could be an injury away. Let's just, say one of their top guys has an injury and is out for a significant chunk of time, or let's say even in the tournament. That could really change things. And there's so much left out there. I'm going to say, since the football team is so far along, and I really like what Brennan's done an incredible job. You look at the two of the three losses right there. Good heavens. It's scary to think that this team is 2 plays away from 9-1, a recovered fumble against BYU and one play against Houston, one, defensive stop away from winning at Houston. And you're sitting at 9-1 and you're knocking on the door of the CFP. So I like their chances against Baylor. The Territorial Cup will be a pick'em game. It always is. And then, the momentum train, we've seen it here a couple years ago. I'm going to defy the odds here, and I'm going to go Arizona football wins out. And only because there's way too much basketball left. There's too many things that could happen. I love Arizona's Final Four chances, but boy, I feel like we've been here too many times on November 19th where I went, all the chips went in on Arizona basketball. So I'm going to throw Brennan some love, and let's see a bowl win in Arizona at, what would that put Arizona?
10-3.
10-3. Let's get it done. I love it.
He's one of our favorite guests. We always love having him on. Ryan, thanks for taking some time with us. Perfect timing after Arizona UConn. Always glad to have you. Coming up next, our buddy Justin Spears joins us here in Wildcat Country.
All right, Wildcat fans, let's talk about crushing your workouts with the Ice Shaker 40-ounce Legend Series shaker bottle. It's made from kitchen-grade stainless steel, leak-proof, tough as nails, built-in straw, soft touch handle, and it keeps your drinks cold for a long time. I got mine in both Wildcat Red and Blue. Be sure to get yours at iceshaker.com.
Shane, this interview is long overdue. We haven't had this guy on the show in 5 years. What are we doing? This guy is everywhere in Tucson. The Arizona Daily Star, ESPN 1490, Spears and Ali in the morning, my favorite Tucson show that I actually get to go on every few weeks. The great Justin Spears joins us And by the way, he's also the Arizona football beat writer, as I mentioned, for Tucson.com and the Arizona Daily Star. Man, you are everywhere. You were in Cincinnati last week. We got a lot to talk about.
Yes, sir.
How surprised were you that Arizona won that game on Saturday?
I ain't gonna lie to you, a little surprised.
A little,
especially after the first quarter. Like, I knew going into this game, this is a different Arizona team. They are much more competitive than they were last year. And then the first quarter happened, and I saw Tawi Walker and those guys have 140 rushing yards after the first quarter, and I'm like, man, if you do the math, they're on pace for 560 rushing yards. They are just going to run up and down Arizona all game long, and I was really concerned with Tia Savea being out and those guys being banged up front. But like any good coach, Danny Gonzalez makes the right in-game adjustments. And we've seen this multiple times over the course of the season where Arizona will take a few punches and then they figure it out and they counter it. And that was an issue last year where they just had a lot of things snowball and it would just turn into this just disaster every single game. This team, even when they get punched in the face, they're able to, like I said, counter, get themselves back in the game, and then the defense has been lights out in the second half, especially during this 3-game winning streak. Danny Gonzalez, that side of the ball, I think has been spectacular. And then now you're also starting to see Noah Fafida, Seth Dagey, and that connection really start to take flight. But yeah, that game against Cincinnati, I mean, they're talented. The Bearcats have talent on both sides of the ball. And how that first quarter started, I'm like, man, this might be a long day for Arizona. But they figured it out and they gutted one out like they've done over the course of the season. So it's pretty great.
Yeah, I tweeted out the same thing. I thought after the first two drives, like this can get ugly quick, and so credit to Danny Gonzalez. Speaking of which, we discussed this on the show last week. I think this team is definitely, and forgive the cliche, kind of, I would say greater than the sum of its parts, because I just thought with the talent level on this team that they'd be better, but they wouldn't be quite as good as we've seen at least at times this season. I think this is more, certainly players and coaches both deserve the credit. I think the coaches deserve even more because I think this is a very, very well-coached team, and I think that they're playing above their talent level collectively because of the coaching staff. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and this coaching staff is also really good evaluators of talent as well. Like, if you look at some of the guys that they got from the transfer portal, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I wasn't like, ooh, Deshaun McKnight from UT Martin. Look out, guys. And he's become a pretty solid player as an interior defensive lineman. The Ismail Mahdis of the world, Max Harris, right? When Max Harris got here, I wasn't like, man, look out for Max Harris. And all these guys are coming from the group of 5 or FCS level, and they're standing out. And even the freshmen that they've added too, like Gio Richardson, making plays. Maze Pesse getting the mix. Myron Robinson, I know he's out for this week against Baylor, but he stepped in for Max Harris, and I thought looked awesome. So the freshmen are standing out. The transfer portal guys are standing out. And if you look at their upcoming recruiting class in 2026, a few of those guys are now starting to turn into 4 stars. Yeah. So Arizona, this staff, they know talent. They just have a good eye for it. And they also are really good coaches as well. And I agree with you, Shane. I think that they are definitely playing above their talent. And I think that's kind of the blueprint for Arizona, that they may not have the transfer portal guys and they're bringing in a bunch of players that are these highly touted guys and these superstars. Those are going to be the guys that are making a lot of money playing at Alabama and Texas. And so I think, Arizona getting from the group of 5, getting from the lower levels, and getting really some impressive players and guys that have a bunch of experience. That's the one thing about these transfer portal guys is that, they're coming in from Chattanooga and they're coming in from UT Martin, but they have played several years of college football and they feel like they are ready for this level. And sure enough, those guys are proving it.
Let's talk about Noah Fafida, who was a 4-star quarterback when he came in, and it certainly has had no guy has had more ups and downs in Arizona football in recent memory than him. I think he looks more comfortable now than I've ever seen him, and that includes 2 years ago. I mean, 2 years ago he was very good, but you think he had T-Mac, he had Jacob Cowing, he had Tanner McLaughlin to throw to. This year he's got some good options, but none of those guys, and he just looks poised. Like there was just one play in particular against Cincinnati. It was like maybe like a short completion, but There was a lineman coming at him. He just stepped up calmly, took one step forward, trusted his own lineman to make the block, and he did. Threw a great pass downfield. He just looks more confident and more poised than I've seen him to this point. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think it's the connection that he has with Seth Dagey and the relationship that those guys have built. This is an offensive coordinator that Noah has never really had before, because his first offensive coordinator was his head coach, the CEO of the football team, right? And then the next offensive coordinator or coordinators, kind of a disaster, right? We all know about what happened with Dino Babers and Matt Atkins. Disaster is one way of putting it. And then, you bring in this Seth Dagey guy who is, not too far removed from his playing days, playing, right where Noah Fafida was at, playing Power 4, Power 5 football. And I think that the connection that those guys have, it's pretty remarkable. And, Seth said it yesterday. He's like, I look at Noah like a little brother. Like, I look at him like family. And whatever I can do to put him in the best position to succeed, I'm going to do it. And, I felt like this was going to be the case, and maybe you guys can, echo the same thing. But I just had a hunch that once Tetairoa McMillan got out of the picture, I'm like, okay, now Noah's going to read. Now he's going to develop chemistry with other receivers, and he's not going to be just eyeing T-Mac every single play
because he had to.
Because he had to, right? Exactly. And so getting T-Mac out of the picture, breaking down the offense to the studs, and then getting these talented receivers with experience like Javon Watley, like Chris Hudson, getting those players in and having Noah work with them for an entire spring and training camp, it's going to be key. But they needed the game reps. And there were points in the early parts of the season where the connection was just slightly off. The connection kind of got off a little bit against Kansas, but they were able to get it back again. And I just think that Noah has developed such a great chemistry with his receivers. And yeah, you're right, Shane. Like, he just looks more comfortable. And not only is he just a more comfortable passer, but, him getting out of the pocket, using his legs, like that game against Kansas, the two runs that he had in the final drive, like that helped Arizona, get set up for that Quincy Craig touchdown. So I think Noah has evolved into really a complete quarterback. And, what's special is, Noah is a really good quarterback and is a legend, but he's going to come back next year and lead Arizona for another season and really stamp his illustrious career. I can't wait.
We don't want to talk about next year's schedule. If you haven't looked yet, we'll wait till January to get into that. It's going to be tough. He's going to have tougher sledding than he's had this year. Talk about Brent Brennan. Now, you and Ali on the morning show, I'm sure you guys have discussed this. Shane and I will get more into it next week. Has Brent Brennan done enough, in your opinion, to deserve an extension?
I think he deserves an extension because, if you can go from 4-8 to possibly winning 10 games, man, what a turnaround. And Brent also, made some really tough decisions. He made some really tough calls on relationships that he's had for several years, getting rid of guys that he's been coaching with for a long time. And so Brennan understands the choices he needs to make sure that Arizona is a winning football program. So I think that Brent Brennan has done a good job or he's done enough to get to a point where he's worthy of an extension. But, the interesting thing about Brent Brennan is he's like, I don't want the pay raise. I want to make sure that the guys around me are getting money. I have no problem being one of the lowest paid coaches in the Big 12. And this naming rights deal with Arizona Stadium, Arizona Athletics is getting $3 million annually that they didn't have prior to that. And, part of that money is going to go towards, the rev share, facility upgrades, renovations, all that. But I'm sure another part of that too is going to make sure that Brent Brennan and his staff, they stay intact, because if you have that continuity, that's going to take you far. I mean, just look at Utah. I mean, not just Kyle Whittingham, but they've had assistants now for a long time, and they've been able to sustain that success. And Arizona's trying to do some of that as well.
Yeah, Morgan Scalley's been there forever. And is the coach in waiting to Whittingham. Let's talk about Casino del Sol Stadium. You called me out in this rightly on X. I should have read your article first. I felt like the $3 million is lower than what we see, obviously, for professional stadium naming rights. Is this a good deal for Arizona? Are you in favor of it? Like, what's your overall take on the name change?
Yeah, it's a popular topic down here in Tucson, just because of casino. They got casino on the stadium,
Right.
and that's a touchy subject for a lot of people. But I look at it like this, is Casino del Sol giving Arizona $60 million over 20 years? That's $60 million that Arizona didn't have prior to this agreement, right? And so I'm in favor of it. And I also think that the University of Arizona and Pasquayaki, there's going to be a cultural element to that. There's going to be some collaboration and, trying to, further the relationship between the U of A and Native Americans and the Pasquayaki tribe. And also, the CEO of Casino del Sol was like, yeah, we want to see more concerts. We want to see more things outside of football at Arizona Stadium. Because if you guys think about it, Arizona Stadium has what, 8, 9 events every single year. They've got the football games, they've got the Arizona Bowl, and then they got graduation, right? So, man, why not have some big time concerts coming through and performing at Arizona Stadium? You probably have to fix the sound system for that, and I'm sure that that's something that they want to get done first. But yeah, they're thinking big here. They want to let's maximize this relationship, and of course, they're building that casino right off of Grant Night 10. That I'm sure that you might see coaches shows there. That's not sourced by any means, but you just think about the possibilities there, and they can do so much. And I just think that it's long overdue as far as naming rights. It's kind of with the times right now. And I kind of compare it to like a quarterback getting a new contract. Like, I just think that this is going to set the bar, and then you're going to see other schools in the future get their naming rights deal, and it's going to be even more money. Like, I'm really curious to see what Texas Tech does, because they've had their naming rights deal with AT&T since 2006. Like, they've been way ahead of the game, and their contract is up next year. So yeah, I think that the money that they're getting, I think it's solid for the most part. I mean, it's the largest valuation in the Big 12 for the total. It's not the largest in college athletics, and yeah, I think it's pretty good for Arizona.
Yeah, you and I are both Daily Wildcat alums, Justin.
Shout out.
So am I for like a semester and a half.
We'll grandfather you in here.
Okay,
That's
thank
fine.
you.
So I wrote a column 24 years ago. This shows how old I am. About Arizona State needs a corporate sponsor. 24 years ago, Desiree finally got it done. So, and look, my take, Justin, and I want to get your thoughts on this. If you have a stadium or an arena with a generic sounding name, go for it. Like Arizona Stadium is the most generic sounding name in all of college sports. Now, if they renamed McHale Center, I think you'd have an uproar on your hands, because it's named after not just a great coach, but one of the pioneers of Arizona athletics. I think it would be ironic if those who haven't been filling the seats at Arizona Stadium would really complain about this a lot. But you haven't heard a lot of blowback, other than maybe some people aren't crazy about it being named after a casino. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's the whole casino thing. But it's not like Arizona's the first one to do that. Viejas Arena in San Diego, the basketball arena, that's named after a casino. So yeah, I think that it's getting pushed back just because of the whole casino attachment to it, and they feel like, oh, casino attached to a college football stadium, like that just feels dirty, right? But I mean, it's one of the premier entertainment venues in Southern Arizona, in Tucson. Like, Casino del Sol is more than just a casino. It's a very important part of the Tucson fabric. So yeah, you were right, Shane. 24 years ago, they should have done this a long time ago, and they finally did it. And now, it's only getting started. McHale Center will probably have a presenting sponsor, but you can't mess with Hollow Grounds. Like, you got to keep McHale Center in the name. And Desiree Reed Francois said McHale ain't going anywhere. And if anything, it'll be, McHale Center presented by Chick-fil-A or
like
something.
like you see in some bowl games, like the so and so Rose Bowl, or like you're not. It's one thing to it's one thing to name the bowl itself after the sponsor, but it's another thing just to have like the prestigious bowl presented by so and so.
Yeah. And also, if you're an Arizona fan and you like to go out to Casino del Sol from time to time, think about it like this. You lose all your money. Damn it. But man, you're contributing to the Arizona Wildcats. So did you really lose at the end of the day?
We're all winners. We're all winners at the end of the day. Of course, we're partial to Herzog Casino here at Wildcat Country, but there are our title
nice
sponsors.
Sponsor plug.
We're talking about another casino, and we got Herzog here, and Mike Kittner has been a good friend of ours, so I had to mention that. All right, let's look ahead to Baylor, Justin.
Yeah.
Sawyer Robertson, one of the best passers in the country. I mean, he has thrown 9 picks, but he's got the Big 12 lead in touchdown passes by a wide margin. How does Arizona slow him down? Do they maybe take the same approach they did with Sorsby last week, or a little bit different, do you think?
Yeah, I think they'll try to figure out ways to rattle him up a little bit. The Baylor Bears, one thing about them is that they turn over the ball a lot. This is much different than Cincinnati because, Brennan Sorsby did a great job of taking care of the football, and they were able to come up with a couple of picks in that first half. So yeah. I feel like, the turnover sword will be unsheathed this week. We're going to see that. And I just think that this Baylor team, they're going to come in very desperate. This is one of the most talented 5-5 teams you will see in college football. Michael Trigg is a great tight end. I mean, he's going to be a handful for Arizona. Joshua Coleman as well. And Sawyer Robertson, I mean, he leads the Big 12 in passing yards. We've got the number 1 passing offense in the Big 12 going toe-to-toe with the number 1 passing defense. And my colleague Michael Lev did a great job with his installment of Cat Stats this week, and he pointed out that Arizona's passing defense was 103rd in college football last year. It is now all the way up to number 7, if I'm not mistaken. Amazing. So look at that turnaround right there. And it's all the job that Danny G has done as a defensive coordinator. And it's also the leaders that they have on that side of the ball. Genesis Smith, Traden Stukes, Dalton Johnson. I think the corners have been excellent this year. Javion Cole is tied for the lead in interceptions in the Big 12 this year. He's got the most interceptions by Wildcats since Lorenzo Burns in, I think, 2017. So this Arizona defense, man, they're a force to be reckoned with. And they've got some depth. And even though that they've dealt with some injuries, these guys have been able to answer the bell every single time. And, that game against Cincinnati, like the PBU by Michael Dansby where he's on an island, like, man, if he doesn't come down with that pass breakup, who knows what happens?
I thought that might have been a fumble for a second there, but they didn't review it. They probably would have upheld it, but he got 2 feet down. I'm surprised they didn't look at that one.
I was very surprised too. Yeah. But that was the kind of play that they did not make against Iowa State. And Danny Gonzalez pointed it out. Like the big plays against Iowa State, Arizona did a good job of eliminating that against Cincinnati. And against the Baylor team, I think kind of similar. Like they've got some really good weapons on the outside. They got a really good passing offense, but not as good of a running team as Cincinnati. So yeah, I'm curious to see what this Arizona defense does. And I think Danny Gonzalez has some tricks up his sleeves. Maybe we'll see, maybe Genesis Smith start blitzing and, defensive backs, coming in all sorts of disguised blitzes. So yeah, it'll be fun to see how Arizona's defense stacks up against that high-powered Baylor offense.
All right, we're going to do a lightning round before we let you go. Just quick answers. If you want to expand, go for it.
Yeah.
Jed Fish will be coaching where in 2026?
Ooh, UCLA.
Okay, Shane and I agree. Without giving away your prediction for the game, how confident are you on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being the most, 1 being the least, that Arizona beats Baylor this weekend?
I'll say an 8.
If Arizona were to win this weekend against Baylor, how confident would you be that they win in Tempe next Friday?
Oh, man, I am not confident because it's in Tempe. It's on the road, and they're playing against Jeff Sims, the mobile quarterback. It's like, man, I feel like they would have been better against Sam Levitt.
You know what? Just you and I mean, I don't know about better off. But yeah, he's the kind of quarterback who's going to be giving Arizona trouble all year. I'm with you on that.
All right, and last question, Justin. Awesome to have you on. Thank you so much for doing this. We've asked our last three guests this question. We're going to roll with it as well. Which is more likely to you? It is a likely scenario. Arizona wins out in football and goes 10-3, or Arizona basketball makes the Final Four.
Ooh, Arizona basketball makes the Final Four.
Wow, that's our first. It's our first one.
So we have our basketball guy saying it's going to be the football team finishing 10-3, and we have our football guy saying the Final Four. Interesting.
I just want to say Justin's one of the most talented guys around. You do a great job, obviously, as a writer and as a broadcaster. Every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m., ESPN 1490, Spears and Ali. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
He's the best. Sir. Justin, thanks for joining us on Wildcat Country. Long overdue, and hope to do it many more times.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Discover more Play for All at Harrah's Auction Casino.
Hi, folks. Here are your drinks.
Where having fun means racking up reward credits with the Caesars Rewards loyalty program that can be redeemed for food, free play, hotel stays, and more. Not only here in the city of Maricopa, but also at more than 50 Caesars properties coast to coast. From Harrah's Las Vegas to Caesars Palace in Atlantic City. What are you waiting for? Play for all at Harrah's Auction Casino, the official sponsor of Play.
What a show we've had. Recording it kind of backwards. Normally it's buy or sell, then guest, then picks.
Well, Arizona athletics being this successful is kind of backwards in itself, is it not? So it's kind of appropriate.
It's kind of appropriate. So we're glad to have Ryan Hansen in our first segment, Justin Spears in our second segment. And now it is time for picks. But we have a lot of things to get to before picks. As always, this show, Wildcat Country, is brought to you by Harrah's Auction Casino. And where can you get $15 in free slot play today? Only at Harrah's Auction Casino. Want more? At Harrah's Auction Casino, just sign up for Caesars Rewards and $15 is yours. Plus, earn up to $100 in additional free slot play. Caesars Rewards is the nation's #1 players card. Harrah's Auction is the only local casino that has it. Use your $15 in free slot play to earn perks at more than 50 destinations from coast to coast. That free slot play could earn you dinner in Vegas, hotel stays in New Orleans, and more. What are you waiting for? Sign up today. Take a spin with your $15 in free slot play and earn up to $100 more. Harrah's Auction Casino is your home for free slot play and more. Play for all. All right, well, since we're going backwards, Shane, I think it's time, before we get to our picks, for some Shane's standouts. What do you have for us?
I only got a couple. I should have some more next week, but I do want to mention, since we're talking basketball, where we did in the first segment, Becky Burke and the women's basketball team is 3-0 following its win over Grambling State on Sunday. Want to shout out Noelani Cornfield, who is averaging 10 assists per game so far this year. She had exactly 10 against Grambling, along with 8 points, a couple of rebounds, and a steal. So, look, Leah, you could consider the level of competition, but 3-0 is 3-0, and you had your over/under of 9.5 total wins.
Not
certainly seems like I would take the over at this point, although it's good. Things are going to get tougher, but so far so good. So congrats to Coach Burke on a great start. And then the only other one I have is, it was a great all around weekend for U of A football. And then how about T-Mac? He's had a good rookie year, but he finally had that breakout game we were waiting for. 8 catches, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns in the Panthers' overtime win over the Falcons. He leads all rookies in receiving yards with 748, which is 6th in the NFL overall. So he's well on his way to a 1,000-yard season, and I'm sure he made his fantasy owners, of which I'm sure there were a few listening to this show, there you go, very happy recently. So that is what I got for Shane's standouts.
Shane, I have 12 teams. I have T-Mac on a number of those 12 teams.
The odds are you have him on at least 2 or 3 then, right?
But it's funny, out of those 12 teams, I don't have any Jonathan Taylor shares among others. He's probably the best player in fantasy football this year. But I do have a lot of T-Mac and a lot of Christian McCaffrey. And when they combined to score, 5 touchdowns on Sunday?
You had a good day, yeah.
Sundays are better than, most days. But hey, nonetheless, great job, T-Mac. I think he's the leading, he's played one more game than Ibuka, but he is the leading receiver among rookies thus far.
That's what I said. Are you listening to anything I said? That's what I said. He actually has 1 more yard than Justin Jefferson at this point.
Which is wild. That'll obviously change with their week 14 bye, but nonetheless.
Still.
All right, Shane, normally we have buy or sell, which is brought to you by Ice Shaker, but since there's really no buy or sell, it's kind of a different show. We're gonna do picks brought to you by Ice Shaker. And you on the video stream here, you have your really cool Ice Shaker that I'm not going to have on the golf course this weekend. Do tell us what is this special Ice Shaker?
Hurley tears always taste better coming out of this thing. But yeah, it is. I got a red one here. This is the Legacy 40-ounce series. It comes in Wildcat blue and any other color you want. Check it out. Keeps your drinks hot, keeps your drinks cold. Highly recommend. Our guy Chris Gronkowski has done a great job with founding and maintaining and growing the Ice Shaker. His brother Rob, who's also a former football player of some note, is a part of the business as well. So definitely check them out.
Let me point this out, by the way. Speaking of our buddy Chris Gronkowski, a former football player, they are offering now $10 tickets to the game on Saturday for Arizona-Baylor. Yeah. If you have a chance and don't mind potentially sitting out in a little rainstorm, it's worth it. Come on.
Is there a chance for rain on Saturday?
Yeah. It's not. It's as I saw, Shane, it's not going to be good. I mean, but you never know. Okay, nonetheless, you want to sit out a little bit. You want to watch a 7-3 team that is underappreciated. The 55% chance of rain, by the way, for Saturday.
Well, that could change.
Nonetheless, $10. So I don't want to hear anybody with price. It's 11 a.m. on a Saturday, $10 tickets. Got to do it if you can. I mean, if you don't have family stuff, you're a single guy like me. Your family's out doing whatever. You have nothing else to do. Go to the game. Okay, let's make some picks. I kind of was delaying this because Shane kicked my butt last week, and it's real bad. It's almost a clincher with what you did to me last week.
Well,
for those who are new to the program, we do 1 point for a spread pick, 1 point for an upset special cover, and 1 point if that team wins outright, and 2 points for Arizona's game. Last week, I had one. Blair Willis had 7 points. Shane Dale had, I believe, 7 as well.
Yeah.
Shane, you are now up by 8 points on me. It is, you're up by 9 points on me now.
Keep going.
Yeah. You're up by 9. So no, I'm sorry, I was wrong. You're up by 8. It's 69-61. I need to learn how to count. I'm in deep trouble. I tried to add games. We'll add a bunch of games next week just to try to get me to
that's
catch
what
up.
you're doing. Are we picking all the bowl games until you catch up? Is that what's going to happen?
We're going to pick all the relevant bowl games like we did in the years past. Not we're not picking like Marshall and Troy. Like we're going to pick real games, right?
Okay.
All right. Upset special this week. Speaking of Marshall, I'm going to start with Appalachian State plus 4.5 against Marshall. Appalachian State's lost 4 in a row, but I don't trust Marshall on the road, even though they won there last week. Shane, what do you got?
Well, I've had Temple as my upset special before, and they didn't let me down. I'm doing it again. This time is a 7.5 point home underdog against Tulane, because once again, I firmly believe, and this worked for me last week when I picked against South Florida, that no group of 5 team really wants to be in the college football playoff. And Tulane's coach even said, "Hey, we don't even belong in the top 25. So you know what? Let's just kick them out of there." I've got the Owls scoring the upset, and you know what, Eric? It's going to be a hoot. You're welcome.
I segue from that. Okay. A couple of games that we agree on. USC at Oregon. Oregon's laying 9.5 points. We're both taking Oregon on the road. Do you really trust Lincoln Riley on the road? I do not. I had to put this game in there, Shane. It is not a ranked versus ranked game, but Washington's minus 10.5 at UCLA. Shane, why did I include that game among the
it's the fish. The fish bowl. Potentially.
Explain to those who may not understand.
I mean, beyond the fact that Jed Fish hit technically his first head coaching start was as interim coach at UCLA in the was it the Cheez-It Bowl or the Cactus Bowl at the time. But there's rumors that he may head there soon. So Washington UCLA winner gets Jed Fish, loser gets Jed Fish. I guess it depends on your perspective.
We're both expecting Washington to lay it on UCLA and win by more than 10.5 because Jed's trying to impress the UCLA administration, who's now might be interested in James Madison's Bob Chesney, is the rumor. Jed does not want that to happen, so look for him to run up the score in Pasadena in what might be, I believe, the last game for UCLA at the Rose Bowl, which is kind of, because they're going to play at SoFi Stadium, evidently. So Jed may not even get to coach in that stadium next year. All right, let's talk Missouri at Oklahoma. Oklahoma laying 7.5, a ranked versus ranked game. You're going the Sooners. I am going the Tigers. Why are you laying the 7.5 with the Sooners, Shane?
I was tempted to go your way because this could be a classic letdown game. But I think OU has enough momentum to keep going. I didn't put them in the top in that upper tier of the SEC until that game. And I mean, look, Alabama outgained them 2-1, but it comes down to turnovers. So I don't think Oklahoma is that much better than I thought they were a week ago. But I think at home against Missouri, which I think was a bit overrated as well, I think OU finds a way to win by at least 10 points.
Okay. I think it's going to be close, like 21-17 close. Give me Missouri. The Oklahoma letdown is real. But the Sooners, all they need to do is win. Doesn't matter style points for them at this point. After winning at Tennessee and at Alabama, just win out. In their last two, they play LSU next week, and they're in the college football playoff. We do disagree on a lot here in the Big 12. We'll just go through these couple games.
I'm giving you a chance to catch up.
Yes, you are. Iowa State minus 4.5 against Kansas. I'm going Iowa State. You're going Kansas. Utah minus 17.5 against Kansas State. You are going Kansas State. I am going Utah. Why do you like the Kansas schools, Shane?
Well, KU they're coming off a bye week, I believe. I guess Iowa State is too. But I think, look, Kansas is a good team. I mean, Kansas, they probably should have beaten U of A. From their perspective, they should have. And so I think they find a way to cover. And then K-State, like, there's no logic in this. Utah should cover. It's just a gut feeling. My gut's telling me this is going to be a 10-14 kind of game. So that's all.
Shane, I'm going to give you a stat, and I was going to go with your pick on Kansas State, but Utah in their games at home. Now you want to throw out the Texas Tech loss, okay? They have won at home by 54, 32, 46, and 31 points, and just beat Baylor by 27 on the road. They need style points, and style points is the reason why I expect them to run up the score on Kansas State.
Fair
so
enough.
I think they blow out Kansas State. And then I'm going Iowa State. I don't know what to make of Iowa State or Kansas. I'm just flipped a coin there. We disagree on TCU at Houston. I have TCU plus 1.5. You have Houston minus 1.5. And then, of course, Shane, you're going back to the well. Oklahoma State, you pick them every week. They're plus 14
Not every week.
against
Most
just
weeks.
about every week.
Yeah.
It's helping get you the lead. Oklahoma State plus 14. I have UCF, the home team, minus 14. I don't know if we need to break those games down, but I just want to say TCU has been an utter disappointment. I pick them every week, and they stink, so you know what to do. Just probably agree with Shane here.
It is kind of a suspicious line, though, isn't it?
Yeah. But it was last week in Provo. They were only a 3-point underdog, and
that didn't happen either. So I don't know. Maybe the odds makers are as stubborn as you are on TCU.
All right, we got BYU at Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a 2.5-point underdog. You think BYU wins and stays in the college football playoff race, and I'm going with the Bearcats because I pick against BYU every week and lose.
Well, I did that for several weeks until I finally got it right against Texas Tech, but I'm going with them this time. I think they're a better team than they were when they played Arizona, which is the game Arizona really should have won. I think Texas Tech is just when they blew out BYU. I think they're just that good. I think BYU is top 20 team. Cincinnati, I mean, they were good for a while. They've fallen off. I think their losing streak continues.
Shane, it's senior day in Boulder, Colorado. Is it going to be Deion Sanders' last game in coaching in Boulder? We will find out, but ASU is a 7-point favorite. There's no Sam Levitt. I don't know about Jordan Tyson's status, but even if he plays, do you really trust Jeff Sims, who's a great runner, but can he throw it to Jordan Tyson? I don't know. Nonetheless, you're going ASU minus 7. I'm going Colorado plus 7, though I don't feel good about it.
Well, no, I don't necessarily either. But, Sims did well against West Virginia. I mean, West Virginia's defense is not very good. But he looked okay. And I think it's more about Colorado just not being – I just don't buy them for now. Maybe it's one of those classic November letdown games like when U of A or ASU used to go to Oregon State in November and lose. Maybe it's that kind of thing. But no, I don't think – I think ASU wins. I think they cover, maybe not by much, but I think they do. And then, if both ASU and U of A win, then, you could be talking about both teams in the top 25 potentially going into the Territorial Cup game. I think a lot would have to happen for U of A to get there and for maybe even ASU to stay there. But I think that would be a fun development.
I don't have any reason for picking Colorado, just that I don't like ASU, and I hope Colorado keeps it close. I don't think Colorado will win. I think ASU and Arizona will both be 8-3 headed into the Territorial Cup game, which is going to be remarkable, as you said. Now, you know what I'm going. I'm going to pick it. I don't know what Shane's thinking. this is senior day in Tucson. We need to honor the likes of Traden Stukes and Dalton Johnson, who've been great Wildcats, who've stuck with the program. Probably Genesis Smith's last game at home. Presumably he goes pro. I mean, we have no reason not to believe that Noah Fafida will be back. So hopefully next year against ASU will be his senior day. But on what appears to be a rainy game, could potentially have rain involved, Baylor's defense is so bad. I picked them last week against Utah, and they were horrendous. I don't see how they hold Arizona. As long as Arizona plays with intensity as I expect, I don't see how Arizona scores under 30 points. And so therefore, I will go Arizona 34, Baylor 26, and the Wildcats to cover the spread and move to 8-3, which is a remarkable season, regardless of anything else. Good for you, Brennan. We'll talk about your extension heading into the Territorial Cup next week. We'll save that. Shane, I don't know what you're thinking here. You're getting a look here, which has me a little suspicious.
No, not at all.
Okay.
I think I just zoned out for a second. No, look, no offense. I've taken Arizona with the points twice this year, I think, just twice, and I'm 0 for 2. Okay. Look, Baylor, they're a kind of a classic Big 12 team. They're aggressively average with an exciting offense. But look, Arizona will win this game if they don't turn the ball over. They've committed 3 turnovers in their last 5 games and none in their last 2. That's a remarkable stat. They should be able to run on Baylor, which is the second worst team in the Big 12 against the run, just ahead of Colorado. They're second worst in both rushing yards allowed per game and per carry. They allow 5 rushing yards per carry. Arizona ran the ball 42 times last week compared to 31 pass plays. And I look for a similar split in this game. Baylor can sling it. Sawyer Robinson, who Seth Dagey knows very well, coached him a long time ago, trained him, I guess. He leads the Big 12 with 29 touchdown passes, but he's also thrown 9 interceptions. And I'm confident that Arizona's secondary will be able to keep him in check at least. Baylor's going to get its points. They have 4 outstanding receivers, including Michael Trigg, who's one of the best tight ends in the country. But I think Arizona will get just enough stops and turn Baylor over at least twice. And that'll be the difference. As long as Arizona's better in the red zone than they were against Cincinnati. And Baylor's defense has allowed 24 touchdowns on 36 red zone trips this season, then I think Arizona will do enough to win. I think it's going to be another nail biter, not a comfortable game, but I think they win. I think Baylor outgains Arizona in total yards like they did against Utah last week, but Arizona ends up with a few more points. I'm going to go Arizona 34, Baylor 31. I'm purposefully not picking Arizona to cover because I've been burned in the rare times that I picked them to cover, but I think Arizona wins, and it's a game that, frankly, they should win at this point.
It is a game that they should win. And by the way, Sawyer Robertson does lead the nation in passing yards headed into this game, 32-10. So they're going to throw it all over the lot. Arizona has some injury issues. Marquise Groves-Killebrew is out. Javion Cole, their other corner, is hurt, is questionable. So that Shane's pick of not covering may be it. I just don't. Baylor's defense is horrendous. I think Dave Aranda is done. I think he will be let go after the season. It has been a massive disappointment for a team that some people picked at the top of the conference. They have been anything but. It's funny, Shane, we talk about the Big 12 standings, before the season. We're like putting together our projections. And last year we all faded ASU and they won the conference. And this year everybody had Arizona down, towards the bottom. And now they're going to end up, safely in a bowl game and probably inside the top half of the conference. Pretty cool. I guess it shows that preseason polls mean absolutely jack squat.
Nope. Never have, never will. It's just fun. And to be fair, it's kind of like top 25 polls. They don't really mean anything. Like how many teams do we pick to be in the college football playoff at the beginning of the season who aren't even in the top 25 anymore? So
a lot. Our two national champions, Clemson and Penn State, were 2 of them.
Ugh, goodness.
What a show we've had. Thanks to Ryan Hansen. Thanks to Justin Spears. Listen, this is. We said a couple years ago when we're doing the show, and Shane, you've tweeted it out multiple times. You just got to enjoy it.
Savor
when things are this good, you just got to savor it.
Yeah.
And I gave Arizona no chance to win at Cincinnati last week. They did. I didn't think they'd win at UConn. You did, Shane. I mean, just savor it. This is fun. This is when doing this show is extra fun. And we love it. And next week is always a fun show. I don't know what Shane has cooked up for the show, but it's our Territorial Cup preview. Will we pick Arizona or Arizona State? Let's see how they play this weekend.
And I'll just add one more thing before we go, Eric. Look, you always complain about Arizona's non-conference schedule in basketball and how difficult it is. This is why we do it. And even if they had lost a couple of these games, the experience these guys are getting. But when they win them, it feels good. And no one can touch Arizona's resume at this point. And it's going to pay off huge going into March.
Can't wait. Could we have a ranked football team and the number one basketball team next week?
Maybe.
Probably not. I don't think the
not.
football team will be ranked, but
no.
The number one basketball team should be.
By the way, ASU being ranked 25, Arizona not being ranked. I wanted to talk about that. I know we talked with Justin earlier, but I just want to mention, I think it's a fair ranking right now. I think Arizona is the better team at this moment, specifically because of ASU's injuries. But ASU, people, UA fans were looking, why is ASU ranked and not U of A? ASU's got the win over Texas Tech. I think that makes the difference. Arizona has got their win at Cincinnati was by far their best win of the season. Their other wins just on paper, unfortunately, don't look as impressive. So that's why. But if Arizona wins this weekend and ASU does too, a couple other things go differently, then you could have a ranked versus ranked matchup for just the third time in the last 40 years in Tempe next week.
Unbelievable. And by the way, Shane, according to ESPN's FPI, and do with that as you please, Arizona is 36, ASU is 45. Maybe the wrong team's ranked.
Maybe.
Just saying. Hey, fun times. Always appreciate it. Great show. For Shane Dale, I'm Eric Cohen. Thanks for listening. And as always, especially this week, bear down.